At 3:12 a.m. on the southern edge of the Zagros Mountains, inside the Combat Information Center of the USS Abraham Lincoln, a senior sensor analyst fixed his eyes on a ground-penetrating radar feed from an RQ-180 stealth drone circling above the area. Combat, we have an anomaly at Sector 7 Delta. It's 400 feet below the remains of the Phantom base we took out 4 hours ago. Spectral analysis confirms uranium-235 particulates in the ventilation exhaust. That changed everything. Iran hadn't just built a decoy facility. Beneath the decoy, it had hidden a second secret laboratory. The discovery sent a shock through Central Command. The earlier strike that wiped out the coastal fast boat docks had only been the beginning. Buried under the limestone shelf of the Zagros Range was another fortified nuclear site, linked by a maze of underground tunnels that appeared on U.S. displays like a digital spiderweb. Iran reacted instantly, activating concealed air defense units and ballistic missile batteries across the region. At that point, Washington was no longer preparing for a limited clash. It was preparing to eliminate the underground complex entirely. But breaking through a mountain fortress deep inside Iran required more than American firepower alone. It demanded a regional coalition and a fully integrated system. Within an hour of the rivet joint's discovery, the U.S. activated its partnerships across the Middle East. This was the first true live test of the region's air defense architecture under intense combat conditions. Israel supplied the spearhead with a squadron of F-35 Shaptadirs, the only aircraft capable of moving through the Zagros electromagnetic environment without being picked up by Iran's surviving long-range sensors. The United Arab Emirates and Jordan formed the protective shield, activating ground-based air defense networks to watch for retaliatory ballistic launches. The mission was incredibly difficult. The second lab sat beneath a jagged limestone overhang that naturally deflected incoming munitions. To reach it, the U.S. needed the GBU-57A/B Massive Ordnance Penetrator, a 30,000-pound bunker-busting weapon. There was one major complication. The MOP can only be delivered by the B-2 Spirit, a stealth bomber with an enormous footprint. Guiding that aircraft through Iran's layered air defenses meant every Allied asset had to operate in near-perfect sync. Iran knew a follow-up strike was coming. It had expected the first site to fall and used that window to transform the nearby Zagros valleys into a radar-silent trap. As the Allied strike package crossed the border, Iranian forces avoided switching on their large, easily detectable radar systems. Instead, they relied on passive sensors, tracking engine heat reflected off the mountain walls. Hidden in deep granite crevices were older MIM-23, Hawk batteries, and the more advanced Bavar 373 systems. These units communicated through hardened fiber optic lines, which meant U.S. signals intelligence couldn't intercept their chatter. Then came the first launch. A Jordanian F-16 flying low-level escort was the first to take the hit. An Iranian Bavar 373 missile fired from a camouflage truck concealed inside a cave. The pilot had only seconds to react. He dropped flares and pulled into a brutal evasive maneuver, but the mountain terrain left almost no room to escape. The proximity blast damaged the aircraft's engine. The A-10s on station immediately rolled into action. Flying low in sequence, the lead pilot steadied the nose and opened fire with the GAU-8 Avenger. The 30mm rounds tore into the limestone ridge where an Iranian Manpads team was repositioning for another shot. Dust and rock burst into the air as the rounds punched into the cave entrance and collapsed the overhang. Target neutralized. Second team moving from the north ridge. Rolling in again with Hydra rockets. Seconds later, another attack run turned the staging area below into a wall of fire. Then the call everyone dreaded came over the radio. We have a pilot down. Repeat, Allied pilot down in the Zagros Range. At that moment, the mission shifted from a precision strike to a chaotic multi-domain fight. As the pilot descended toward hostile mountain slopes, IRGC ground units emerged from hidden shafts to begin a capture operation. Losses were mounting, and the carefully designed plan was now being rewritten in real time under heavy anti-air fire. The downed F-16 and the growing threat to the pilot forced CENTCOM to raise the stakes. If Iran intended to use the mountains as cover, the U.S. would turn those mountains into the target. The USS Arleigh Burke and USS Cole, operating in the Arabian Sea, received fresh coordinates. They did not aim at the bunker yet. They aimed at the mountain itself. a volley of 24 Tomahawk Block 5 cruise missiles launched toward the cliff faces above the suspected Iranian launch sites. The goal was terrain destabilization. The impacts triggered localized rock slides, burying cave entrances and forcing the mobile Bavar 373 launchers to move into the open. At the same time, U.S. Navy EA-18G Growlers surged forward and unleashed an electronic onslaught, flooding Iranian frequencies with so much interference that operators struggled to communicate. Now exposed and digitally blinded, the Iranian launchers became easy prey. Israeli F-35s moved in and fired AGM-158JA SSM-ER standoff missiles from 60 miles away. Using infrared guidance, the missiles locked onto the heat signatures of the missile trucks and removed the outer defensive ring piece by piece. With the air defenses shattered and the downed pilots shielded by relentless A-10 cover, the path was finally open for the main strike. Two B-2 Spirit stealth bombers, already orbiting at 40,000 feet, began their final approach. Their target was not just the bunker itself, but a specific geological weak point, a tectonic fault line in the granite directly above the enrichment lab. Then came the release. Two GBU 57A/B massive ordnance penetrators dropped away from the B-2s. Each 30,000-pound bomb was built for a mission no ordinary weapon could accomplish. Survive impact with solid rock, keep drilling, and detonate deep underground. They struck the mountain at more than 1,100 miles per hour. For several seconds, there was no visible blast, only the chilling reality of hardened steel boring through hundreds of feet of granite. When the fuses finally triggered, the effect was catastrophic below ground. The lab wasn't simply taken out. The pressure wave had nowhere to escape, so it raced through the tunnel network like an underground shockwave. Passageways leading back toward IRGC barracks became sealed tombs. Enrichment centrifuges were crushed under the collapsing mountain above. From orbit, U.S. satellites observed the ridgeline sink by roughly 6 feet. The second lab, the supposedly untouchable underground vault, was gone. Iran's response was immediate, frantic, and uncoordinated. In the purest form of escalation, the IRGC launched everything it still had available in the theater. From mobile launchers hidden inside civilian warehouses along the coast, Iran sent out a large wave of Shahed 136 drones and Fateh 110 short-range ballistic missiles. They were not aimed at the carriers. They were aimed at Allied air bases in a last attempt to fracture the coalition. But over the Gulf of Oman, Iranian hardware ran into a fully integrated shield. The U.S. Fifth Fleet, working alongside UAE Falcon batteries, built a layered interception net. The USS Arleigh Burke, using its Aegis combat system, tracked more than 50 inbound threats at once. It answered with SM-6 missiles, intercepting the high-speed Fateh 110s during re-entry. While the SM-6s handled the ballistic threat, shipboard close-in defense systems and Allied F-16 dealt with the drones. Flying at only around 115 miles per hour, the Shahed 136 were easy targets for cannon fire, and one after another they disappeared over the water in flashes of light. Iran had thrown its last punch, and the coalition brushed it aside without even changing course. At that point, Iran's regional military posture had been stripped of its sharpest edge. Its most secret assets had been reduced to debris beneath the Zagros Range. For military analysts, the operation delivered several major lessons. The first was that even the hardest underground facility is no longer truly secure in the age of integrated warfare. Iran depended on the mountains for protection, but it underestimated the information advantage of the US and its allies. Once the RC-135V rivet joint detected uranium particulates, it became clear that modern sensors can reveal what older doctrines assumed could stay hidden forever. The fusion of satellite intelligence, signals collection, and high-altitude atmospheric sampling has changed the rules for underground secrecy. The second lesson was the importance of partnership. The U.S. could have carried out the strike on its own, but the involvement of Israel, Jordan, and the UAE transformed a tactical mission into a strategic regional message. This showed that American power no longer operates only as a lone enforcer. It now functions as the central node in a broader regional network. The way Israeli F-35s shared targeting data with U.S. Tomahawks through cooperative engagement made one point unmistakable. In modern conflict, software and connectivity can matter just as much as hardware. An alliance that shares the same digital language becomes incredibly difficult to counter. The final lesson was the cost of deception. Iran's earlier attempt to lure the US into striking a phantom base only sharpened American awareness. By the time Tehran tried to defend the real site, Washington was already operating with top-tier situational understanding. Iran's chaotic reaction showed that asymmetric tactics may work once, but once a superpower decodes the pattern, every move after that becomes more dangerous for the side trying to improvise. The conclusion is hard to ignore. If you challenge a technologically dominant coalition in a high-intensity fight, terrain alone will not save you. Mountains stop being a shield. Tunnels stop being an escape route. In the end, they become part of the problem. From the first isotope detection to the final SM-6 intercept, the mission unfolded with a level of coordination the IRGC simply could not match. That is what defines modern American military power. Not noise, not chaos, but controlled efficiency. It is the ability to take a 30,000-pound weapon built at enormous cost, supported by years of training and thousands of hours of maintenance, and have it perform exactly as designed with almost no margin for error. The US didn't just remove a laboratory, it shattered the belief that geography alone could protect it. For the sailors aboard the USS Arleigh Burke and the pilots flying the Israeli Adirs, the operation ended quietly, with nothing more dramatic than a target-neutralized message on a screen. No parade was needed. The result spoke for itself. As Allied ships returned to patrol and the global energy market kept moving without pause, one of the region's most dangerous hidden facilities had already been erased from the map. And that may be the most striking part of all. The so-called berserker state was not silenced by one dramatic moment, but by a flawlessly connected system that dominated the sky, the sea, and even the ground beneath the mountains. What impressed you most about this operation? The raw power of the 30,000-pound bunker buster? Or the way the US and its allies combined intelligence and coordination to break through a defense network that looked almost impossible to crack? The Zagros Mountains have hidden secrets for centuries, but in the age of the kill web, secrets do not stay hidden for long.